We are born free.
And we will die free.
The time in between, though,
That's complicated.
In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom here on the Lions of Liberty podcast on a Monday, the new day for Finding Freedom. And I'm not going to lie, I'm having a hard time getting adjusted to this schedule. And, when you do when you publish a podcast on my latest day was Thursday. Prior to that, it was Friday with Felony Friday. But for 300 and almost 50 episodes, it was Thursday or Friday I was publishing. So I was doing my editing either Wednesday or Thursday night. And because I edit right before the show normally, because it's just how I do it. It's just my system. Interview happens when it happens. Edit night before, publish, bing, bang, boom. So now I'm having to do that on Sunday nights. And I really not the biggest fan of that. So I got to decide if I want to change that up and try to actually, be a little proactive and plan and schedule and try to get my editing done earlier so I could just post it up on and have it publish automatically as the technology works with these platforms. Have it publish automatically on Sunday night. But anyway, that's for me to figure out. You don't care about that, so I'll stop talking about it. Happy to have you listening to Finding Freedom. If this is your first time, welcome. And whichever feed you're listening on, happy to have you. If it's the Finding Freedom solo feed, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting that feed. Please subscribe to it and also leave a 5-star rating and a review. If you're an OG, you've been listening for a while, maybe you're listening on the Lions of Liberty network feed, where you get this show. You also get Brian's show, Mean Age Daydream, on Wednesdays. And soon enough, you're going to get a little something else coming at you on Fridays. Just a little taste of something sweet to go into the weekend. So we're excited about bringing you some new content. And for those of you, maybe you were under a rock for the past month or 2 months and you just crawled out, maybe you're hibernating in the end of summer, some weird hibernation thing that you're doing maybe. If that's the case and you're asking what happened to Mark Clare, Mark is fine. He's doing great. Mark has branched off on his own and he has his own podcast feed that we'll be promoting here when that launches. And we're actually going to publish some of his content on this feed to help to promote it. And Mark's no longer with Lions of Liberty. He still supports us. We still support him. All is good there. So I got a really great show lined up today. We're talking about central bank digital currency with Clay Clark. And we get into some pretty heavy stuff once again. Last week talking about being possessed by demons and exorcisms and things like that. And this week, towards the end, Clay got into talking about also some very biblical happenings, some things that people could consider them to be modern day things happening with biblical references. Biblical connections. So he gets into that. And, if you're not a Christian and you don't believe in that, that's fine, But it is very interesting and kind of makes you raise your eyebrow when you start to look at some of these connections. So hope you enjoy the show. And without further ado, let's get to it. All right, I am live here in the Lions of Liberty Pride with Clay Clark. This is Clay's second time on Finding Freedom. He was on a couple months ago. And if you don't know Clay, he's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Thrive15.com. You've probably heard of him from the Time to Save America Tour. But today, he's here to talk about central bank digital currency, CBDC. If you've listened to my show at all, you've heard me talk about it a bunch. We're going to dig into it today. Clay, welcome back to Finding Freedom.
John, thank you for carving out time to allow me to be here with you today. And I'll just say, this is one of these shows where everybody needs to take notes. Okay. So a lot of times we hear shows and you might say, oh, wow, that's entertaining, or that's amusing, or I hadn't thought about it that way. This is one of these ones where you want to take notes and you want to share this information with friends and family, because if Executive Order 14067 is allowed to go into effect, and Joe Biden has signed it on December 13th of 2022, it would end freedom in America. December 13th, 2022. No exaggeration, no hyperbole. That goes in December 13th.
So you're saying he's going to sign it on December 13th, 2022?
He has already signed it. Joe Biden has signed this executive order, Executive Order 14067. And for anybody out there that doesn't know, again, this was signed on March 9th by Joe Biden. And it puts in central bank digital currencies that are programmable beginning on December 13th of 2022.
Oh, got you. And there was something this past week that was released by the White House, too, with regards to CBDCs.
Well, what Joe Biden is doing, I've got some clips I want to play here, because I think if you hear it from people that are more respected than myself or more well-known, maybe it seems more real. Okay. So for the first clip I want to play, this comes to you via Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So the chair of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve. And by the way, the Federal Reserve isn't federal and there is no reserve.
Yeah, it's private.
But we call it the Federal Reserve. Okay, so let's listen to this. This is Jerome Powell speaking on March 23rd of 2021. March 23rd, 2021. Jerome Powell speaking. Listen to this, folks. Here we go. Backing it up. Here we go.
I don't think that a system that relies entirely on, for example, completely private governance or completely secret information about who's actually owning the digital dollar would not be viable. And he
just said that he doesn't think any type of digital currency that doesn't allow for complete secrecy of the owner is not viable. Now, John, I know I'm on your show, but what could possibly go wrong with that logic?
Quite a bit.
So I right now in my pocket at this very second, I have $100 in my pocket. And I don't know that Jerome Powell, knew it was in my pocket. And if we did, that's a kind of a weird show right there. Jerome Powell is in your pocket. Okay. So literally in your pocket. Okay. So now this is called the Oversight Treasury meeting they're having on YouTube here. They're having this discussion. And by the way, these things are you can find them on YouTube, and they put out, the House committees will put out these entire YouTube videos for transparency. But who watches them, right?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of this stuff it's just out in the open. Like, this isn't, people say, oh, see, you're talking about CBDC, total control of the way you spend your money. That's a conspiracy. Actually, you just have to read the white papers and watch the videos. They talk about it.
Correct. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play here on this next portion. I want people really listen into what is said here.
The things the coronavirus laid bare is the lack of, simply a list of citizens of the U.S. and then our ability to rapidly distribute funds, particularly to the underbanked. A high quality and universal digital ID in the U.S. would have made that immeasurably easier, as well as everything from, vaccine certificates or you name it.
So he said we could have had vaccine certificates if we would have had a central bank digital currency and a digital ID. He said we could have done that, but we didn't, and this would be Representative Bill Foster. So again, these are all things I'm trying to tell you. Executive Order 14067 would usher in programmable digital currency. And I just don't think that a lot of people know that it is happening. So I feel like my duty on the Thrive Time show and on these events we do is to share with everybody out there what most people don't know. And try to share it in a meaningful, impactful way that is cited, so that you can do your own research and discover that what I'm saying is not hearsay, hoo-ha, it's not opinion, it's not speculation, it's facts.
So, question. This is coming, right? I mean, I think you would agree that's something we're going to deal with. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but what do we do to protect ourselves, in your opinion, from a CBDC?
Well, do you already have a gold and silver sponsor guy that you work with, or gal or company?
We do not, no.
Okay. Well, I would just say this because I don't want it to seem self-serving. You and I haven't talked about this offline. Okay. But I used to buy gold and silver for years from a company called goldline.com. And I never had a bad experience. Goldline was always a good company to work with. And I've since decided to buy from BH-PM. That's Beverly Hills Precious Metals. So BH-PM. And I decided to buy from them because they were recommended to me from multiple people that were actually buying from them in high velocity. And I needed to have somebody that I could, trust and have a relationship with. And so Andrew Sorcini and his team over there at bh-pm.com. So I buy from. So I would say there's three things you want to do. One, you want to make sure that you get as much of your fiat currency out of the fiat currency and into a, currency into a tangible currency, into a non-fiat currency. And I guess a good example would be, Putin, who I'm not saying is a financial investment genius, although I will say he's probably the world's wealthiest person. Putin is saying you can no longer buy his real Russian oil unless you pay him via gold, silver, or rubles. You're seeing more and more countries say, we don't want your fake fiat currency in exchange for real natural resources. We want to be actually paid with tangible currencies. So I would recommend that everybody out there gets as much as you can get out of the fiat currency and get into gold and silver. Second thing I would recommend you do, because it's hard to eat gold and silver, is I would make sure that you have food you can eat, because you're going to see the collapse of the dollar system as we know it. And so if you look up Venezuela, or you look up other countries that have had a complete financial collapse, Venezuela, Nicaragua, etc., whenever hyperinflation begins to set in, the cost of food becomes unattainable and unaffordable for people. So I would encourage you to go to something like My Patriot Supply. I do not have a promo code with them. My Patriot Supply, or who I buy a lot from is Sherwood.tv. And I would just make sure you have food stored up that isn't going to go bad, that you can eat in the event of a supply chain collapse, whether it be temporary or long-term.
So with regards to hyperinflation, do you think this is something that's definitely going to happen? And if you do, how much time do you think we have until we see a collapse of the supply chain?
I think it definitely is happening, and I think it's just not been. Let me give you an example. If you were to go buy a new home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 18 months ago, one of my longtime clients and friends at shawhomes.com, shawhomes.com, the price of a home from Shaw Homes 18 months ago is considerably less than it is now. Well, why? Because the cost of building a new home has gone up 40% in the past 18 months. Well, if you want to buy gas, go back to the future. Okay, 18 months ago, you're going to buy gas. Gas was probably 40% less, if not, even more discounted. 18 months ago.
Joe Biden told me that I'm basically getting $100 raise by filling up my gas tank now. So what
Thank you, Joe Biden. So if you look at it, you recognize the cost of gas and the cost of building supplies and the cost of food has all gone up over 40%. The actual inflation rate's got to be in the 40s. But what we do is we have this manipulated, just like everything else, there's a manipulated inflation rate. So we're told that the inflation rate is 9.1%. But I challenge your listeners right now who are very smart, ask yourself, what are you buying on a weekly basis that has only gone up 9.1%?
Nothing. Silence. Everything's gone up more. Yeah.
Right. So we really, really need to be prepared to make sure we've got currency that's not going to be devalued super quickly, which, again, I recommend you would look into. I'd recommend everyone looks into getting into gold and silver, which you can do through, Goldline or bh-pm.com to store up on food. Again, those resources I recommend are My Patriot Supply and Sherwood.tv. And third is you've got to get involved. I don't think people recognize how few Americans vote in elections. We talk about election fraud, and I'm not going to sit there and obsess on election fraud today, but I can say it is true, and President Trump is correct, that there is a lot of voter manipulation. I'm not disagreeing or minimizing that at all. I'm also saying, in addition to that, there's a vast majority of people that don't vote in elections. I say the vast majority? Yes. Over 50% of eligible voters don't vote in most elections, which is the vast majority.
And maybe one of the reasons they don't vote is because they don't trust the elections. Not all of them, but I'm sure that's.
It's like this. It's like this. And I'm not fishing for clients, but as an example, people always go to thrivetimeshow.com and they find out, I heard you're a business consultant, So I just dealt with it today. a guy, he reached out to me for help. I only take on 160 clients, and I have a really outstanding track record because I tracked my client successes, and I've been doing this since 2006. Okay, so I have thousands of customer testimonials. And people say, I want to hire you to grow my business. And I go, okay, cool. And they say, well, how do I know it's going to work? And I'm like, well, the Flyover Conservatives are a recent documented success story. They're a podcaster group, and they've grown their viewership and everything by 14,000% in 18 months. And they're on video of saying that. And they go, well, yeah, but how do I know it's going to grow? I said, well, look at shawhomes.com. They've grown the business 5 times. They go, yeah, but how do I know it's going to work? I said, well, look at Sherwood. He's grown his business dramatically. I said, look at my clients. And they go, yeah, but my business is different, or my life is different. Right? I go, great, fine. They don't hire me. It's a month-to-month service. I don't want you to do something you don't believe in. And I think a lot of people don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in their country. They don't believe in their God. And so they just sit back and they go, I'll just play it safe. I'm not going to, go to a conference, whether it be mine or somebody else's. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to run for office. I'm not going to write the book. Not going to be the dad I should be. Not going to be the mom I should be. Not going to hire that key employee. Not going to start that business. And a lot of people just sit back and watch life pass them by.
Yeah, I agree. That is a huge problem. So voting, yes, I do agree with you. More people could vote. Maybe you could change something. But say things are probably going to collapse no matter what. Probably the dollar's going to collapse. We're going down this path. Unless we stop on a dime and spin everything around and stop this crazy deficit spending and stop the crazy monetization of debt by the Federal Reserve, which likely that's not going to happen. Probably going to have a CBDC no matter what. So cryptocurrency, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, cryptocurrency is not something that I personally have invested in. I don't have any problems with it. Bo Polney, who's on the Reawaken America Tour. And again, that Reawaken America Tour, for anybody out there that wants to get tickets, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, we're going to be in Pennsylvania in October and Branson, Missouri on November 4th and 5th. And again, you can always name your price. The mainstream media likes to lie. You can name your price at timetofreeamerica.com. Well, Bo Polney, one of our presenters who I bring to many of the events, people say, well, where did you find him? Bo is a guy who's invested heavily in cryptocurrency back in the day. That's what he did. And Bo's made a lot of money in it. And Bo would be the first to tell you that, when he bought in cryptocurrency, it was very undervalued. And at a certain point, it became kind of a mainstream hot topic. You remember that 18 months ago, everybody wanted to become a Bitcoin miner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody 18 months ago was like, I want to become a Bitcoin miner. Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a Bitcoin miner. Everybody was saying that. And that was the bubble. That was the time where it was big and it was unsustainable. And Bo was kind of going, hey, certain people have got into this market and it's probably going to go down from here. Okay. Now what's happening is the federal government, and again, I cannot, I'm not prophetic. I can just tell you what's in Executive Order 14067 is Joe Biden seeks to, on December 13th of 2022, ban all non-programmable currency. So they want to move into a Federal Reserve controlled cryptocurrency. So you could see how this could be a bad thing for Bitcoin or other digital currencies out there if they get banned. I mean, if it becomes illegal to own them. So
gold and silver non-programmable currencies, what would happen with them?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think all of these things we're headed into a bad spot, which is why I encourage everybody to get out there and vote. I just encourage everybody, you have to, what can you do? Your options are to do nothing and just watch America crash, watch America go the way of the Titanic and sink, or you can get involved and fight back. And I just encourage everybody out there, you have to share Executive Order 14067 with your family and friends. I would argue that the vast majority of Americans do not know that Executive Order 14067 even exists.
I agree. Probably 95% don't know. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So what else is in this executive order that is scary? From my perspective, CBDCs, you talked about it, vaccines, they can force you to take vaccines. They can turn off your ability to spend money, buy groceries, things like that. You can't fill up your gas tank if you don't get a vaccine. What other types of things are concerning about a central bank digital currency?
Well, I'm going to start to play some audio clips from people who are much more well-known and respected than myself. So here we go. This is Catherine Austin Fitz. She's an attorney and an investment banker. Listen to what she says. Have it muted.
Audience to watch.
Back it up. Here we go. And here we go.
One is a 56-second video of
almost there.
There are 2 videos I really want your audience to watch. One is a 56-second video of the BIS General Manager Augustine Carstens in October 2020 explaining that with CBDC, they will have central control to set the rules and enforce them centrally.
All our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
It's the only time in my life I've ever seen a central banker be 100% honest. It's quite remarkable. They're trying to put into place a digital transaction control grid, which will tell you what you can do with your money, when you can do it, where you can go. If they don't want you to be able to use your money more than 5 miles from your home, that's it. Your money will turn off 5 miles from your home. Once they get the system into place, it won't even be, I believe it won't even be your national central bank that will control. It will be the Bank of International Settlements.
You talked about executive order.
Robert Kiyosaki talking now.
14067. What is your concern on executive order 14067, which was just signed with Biden and company only a few months ago? What is your concern?
This is Jim Rickards responding. Listen to this, folks.
14067.
Yeah, it has a number of parts, and the thing with executive orders, or for that matter, legislation, I could say you have to read the fine print. I mean, help you if you donate money to Donald Trump. They'll know that, first of all, and you might find that your account's frozen.
Think about that. They could just freeze your account if you donated to President Trump. These are all things that are being openly pushed with Executive Order 14067. So homework tonight, John, everybody needs to make Executive Order 14067 famous. So whether you're on Twitter, post Executive Order 14067, and I sent you a private link there so people can send that as well or share today's show. But Executive Order 14067, put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter, put it on Truth, put it on YouTube, put it everywhere, because, very, very few people that I've actually met are a fan of it or believe it's a good idea. But yet it's being pushed on the American people. Once that goes into effect, they will essentially perpetually silence dissent forever.
That's scary. Is there anything scarier than that? That's
no. It's crazy. it's like the ultimate. Essentially, what you're doing is you're putting Americans into a. It's kind of like a 90-mile-an-hour sprint towards tyranny. It's what it is. It's just putting us on a bullet train into a digital currency concentration camp of such, where your money can be turned on or off as government sees fit. And I don't think people understand this, but Joe Biden was the keynote speaker in 2016 at the World Economic Forum. Okay, it's the World Economic Forum. That's an organization founded by Klaus Schwab in 1971. And this organization founded by Klaus Schwab, he's the author of this is COVID-19, The Great Reset. He wrote this book. He loves COVID-19, The Great Reset. He's the author of The Great Reset. And, so Biden was the keynote speaker. Well, what does that mean? What does that matter? Well, Biden was asked to speak specifically on the topic of implementing the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution in 2016. Everybody out there should go tonight on YouTube and type in 2016 World Economic Forum, Joe Biden. Watch the talk. I'll play a little clip here for you.
Industrial. And I have to say,
Klaus
in my
Schwab.
memory, you were one of the most engaged and hardest working participants here at the annual meeting. I watched you in the morning up to midnight sometimes, one.
No, the World Economic Forum has a logo 666, by the way. If you look at their logo, it's 666. They're located 6.66 miles away from CERN. Look at their logo, folks. World Economic Forum, their logo is 666.
Engagement after the other one.
Well, here's Biden. Here he comes.
Dr. Schwab, I'm flattered you'd ask me to keynote.
Flattered.
There's an expression in my old neighborhood back in the United States. This may be above my pay grade. It's not above yours, though. You've written extensively on the topic that you've asked me to speak to. Mastering the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, right. Just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
So COVID-19, the Great Reset, stands for Certificate of Vaccination IDAI. That's what COVID stands for, Certificate of Vaccination IDAI. The 1 is the A, the 9 is the I. That's what it stands for. The word corona is 666. C is the 3. O is the 15. R is the 18th letter of the alphabet. O is the 15th letter of the alphabet. N is the 14th letter of the alphabet. A is the first letter of the alphabet. The word corona is 666. Bill Gates has a cryptocurrency with a patent W02020060606. Congress has written legislation to force you to put the shots inside your body. That legislation is HR 6666.
Tell you what, this is interesting timing, Clay. Last week, on last week's show, I had on a guy talking about demon possession and exorcism. And, it's...
And again, I think a lot of Christians are ignorant of the times. I say ignorant. I don't mean like ignorant, like you listening right now are not smart. I don't think any of your listeners are going, oh, this is amazing. I wish they would get out the sock puppet so I could know what's being said. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying a lot of times pastors don't teach anything that actually is going on in the world at all. So as an example, if you open up your Bible today to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12, do it, folks. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Did you know that the Euphrates River is now dried up? A lot of people say, huh? You know, and you have this whole idea of the, and again, I'm just giving you facts. Did you know this, folks? These are just facts. I'm throwing it out there for you. A lot coming at you. The World Economic Forum logo, again, at 666. CERN, their logo is 666. And you know that CERN is located on top of the former temple of Apollo? That's Revelation 9:11. Read that tonight, folks. What? And CERN's logo is 666. And CERN invented the World Wide Web, and they called it www because in Hebrew, W is 6, so www is 666. You know the Guardian of Nations statue that's sitting right in front of the United Nations? It's called the Guardian of Nations statue. It is designed to exactly match Revelation 13:2. Do you know that Bill Gates has a cryptocurrency system that goes inside the human body with a patent number W02020060606, which fulfills Revelation chapter 13, 16 through 18. You know that Putin is cementing ties with Iran and Turkey, which would fulfill Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1 through 6. And I could go on and on and on doing this. And what's happening is we are living through a time period where Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, it says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and they shall think to change the times and the laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and the times and the dividing of times. Did you know right now that the World Economic Forum wants to change the time periods? They want to change time. They want to move into a new time period called the Anthropocene. Anthropocene, a time period which they are saying most humans and vegetation won't survive, which is why they've built the Svalbard Seed Vault, which is funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and the Bill Gates Foundation. So, I mean, these are things that are actually happening right now. I mean, these are, and again, if you read the Bible, you go, I mean, so it makes more sense, okay? You've all Noah Harari, top advisor for Klaus Schwab, is trying to convince everybody out there to not get married. If you read Matthew chapter 24, verse 37 through 39, you can learn more about how they said Christ's return will be like as in the days of Noah. You can learn more about what that is. I think if you know what's going on from a biblical perspective, it'll make a lot of these things that are happening make more sense. If you read 1 Timothy chapter 4, you'll understand now why the Luciferians and the globalists want to ban the eating of meat. That's because it's in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 through 3. So you're wanting to know what wise Yuval Noah Harari, the top advisor for Klaus Schwab, trying to upgrade himself into a god. Well, that's because it's Daniel chapter 11, verse 37. Why does he have no desire for women? That's Daniel chapter 11, verse 37. Why are they trying to get rid of genders and ban marriage? Well, that's 1 Timothy 4:3. I mean, I could go on and on giving examples. So people just have to start to wake up to what's happening from a biblical perspective.
So, I mean, from a biblical perspective, we know what happens at the end.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah, dude.
We win. Jesus comes back.
Uh-huh.
So fighting against that, trying to stop it.
Yeah.
What's the what can we? I mean,
I don't have like a motivational answer. All I know, this is what I know, is that when the founding fathers and their wives, founding mothers, fathers, when they started this great country, statistically it didn't look probable, but America chose God, and God chose Israel. That's something that we know. And it seemed improbable that America would be founded and would win and succeed and thrive, but it happened. And it seemed, I mean, if you look up the statistical probability and do your research into Israel, what are the chances that Israel would exist today? So these are things that statistically don't make a lot of sense. All I know is that God wants us to share the good news in the air everywhere until his return. So I put my hope in his calling. It's 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13 through 18. And I'll leave you with this. It says, "But I would have you not be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep. Okay. And ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and the voice of the archangel, and the trump of God, and dead in Christ shall rise. Then we which are alive, which would be us, and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words." So people always ask me, why do I do the Reawaken America Tour? Why would I possibly team up with Eric Trump, Kash Patel, General Flynn, Michael Lindell to do an event where you can name your price to attend? Why would I do a 2-day event where you can name your price? I don't make any money. Why don't I take an income or a salary? What's the point? I'm trying to share with the gospel of Jesus Christ with as many people as possible. I'm trying to expose medical fraud, election fraud, religious fraud, but ultimately it's about getting back to God. And I encourage everybody tonight, you can go to timetofreeamerica.com and you can download the Reawaken America Tour documentary for free tonight. Timetofreeamerica.com. You can download the book, The Great Reset versus The Great Reawakening, free tonight at timetofreeamerica.com. You can find jobs that do not require the COVID-19 shots at timetofreeamerica.com. You can request a COVID-19 vaccine religious exemption from a pastor that will actually sign it for you at timetofreeamerica.com. And you can attend the Reawaken America Tour by getting a ticket at whatever price you want to pay. Timetofreeamerica.com. We're going to Pennsylvania in October and Branson, Missouri in November.
Where in Pennsylvania? I'm in Pennsylvania.
Manhunt.
That's by Philly, right? I think so.
I think it's like 30 minutes outside of Philly. Again, I don't want to be ignorant of that subject, but I've never been there.
Okay.
I've talked to people who live there. I've booked the venue, but I've never personally been there. But again, you are invited. I'd love to get you a media booth there where you can meet all the speakers and interview a lot of them, John.
Yeah,
I think you'd love it. I will for sure do it. You just text me and I'll do it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Clay, you've plugged almost everything, I think. Is there any parting words, anything left to plug before I let you go here?
My thesis is we all need to get right with Jesus. So I encourage everybody today, accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and repent from your sins, because we're starting to see red heifers be delivered to Israel. Look that up, folks. Red heifers are being delivered to Israel right now.
Clay Clark, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, John. Take care.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Clay Clark. He always brings it, and he might be the fastest talker in all of any audio format or video recording anywhere. Radio, podcast, television. The guy talks fast, and I love it because it's when you're listening to him, you don't have a hard time keeping up. Of course, maybe if you put it at 2 times speed, you might not be able to keep up. I know I wouldn't be able to, but he is able to talk fast, but it doesn't really sound that fast in the moment. But I really enjoy talking with Clay. He's talking. I mean, this is important stuff, and it's really hard for me to really picture how any of this stuff ends well. Just seeing the way things are going, and we didn't get into it today, but with the Russia-Ukraine conflict and Putin teasing nuclear war if Russia's territory is invaded or infringed upon, and now with Putin having these sort of sham type elections in the Ukrainian territories, the Russian-controlled Ukrainian territories that do have a very ethnic Russian population and probably do support Russia. It's hard to know what's true and what's not with this news reporting. But having those elections, so now it's even now uncertain what is Russian-controlled. Infringing upon Russian-controlled, U.S. is funding Ukraine with billions and billions of dollars of weapons. What's going to happen here? It's very scary stuff. We didn't get into that, but that's just another piece of just the craziness of these times. And really, central bank digital currency does fit into that as well. And we actually talked about all of this stuff and how it ties in with the WEF in a recent bonus episode on our Patreon, or on our locals. Our new show, I'm forgetting the name, our new bonus show. Oh God, what's it called? Secrets, Truth, and Lies? Secrets, Lies, and I can't remember the name of the show. Anyway, it's replacing our Conspiracy Corner show, and it was fantastic. We had myself, Brian, JB, and Rico, and we got into some interesting stuff. We're going to do this at least once a month with the new show. Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Ups. I knew it would come to me. Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Ups. Great. I like it better than Conspiracy Corner, honestly. I like the new show name. And we also have, during the fall and through the winter and into the, through the winter, I should say, we have our Degenerate Gamblers show back every Friday. So you can watch that live, or you can listen to it in our bonus feed. So be sure to join up. A lot of great bonus content right now. You go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com and join in on the fun. Of course, you get access to our Facebook group and a bunch of other stuff, depending on what level you join at. So thank you for the support. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to either the Finding Freedom podcast feed or the Lions of Liberty network feed. And I will talk to you all next week. Always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.